And thank you, everyone, and Tab especially for giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys today. I preface by saying I don't profess to be a records management expert. In my role as registrar, that was one of the things I kind of inherited. And so what we encountered, and there's one of my pictures there, and it's one that I don't like, but Courtney got me with that one. But this is an end result picture of what we ultimately were able to accomplish through partnering with Tab. And I will talk some more about this as we move through the slides. But as I mentioned, this is what we inherited. So this is, or what I inherited. So this is kind of a visual depiction of what our records office looked like. And so Malcolm X College is part of a network of 7 community colleges. With over 150,000 student enrollments annually. And so students are transient, they move from institution to institution, and so we were dealing with lots of paper volume coming in and all different types of documents with sensitive information, social security numbers, and all types of biodemographic information without any real way of managing that information in terms of physical space as well as an electronic aspect. So the goal initially was to overhaul what you see there in the image. We were looking strictly to move our physical documents into some sort of physical system that would better use our space so we could maximize space. And that's what the next slide talks about here. We later determined after partnering with Tab that a hybrid solution would be the best solution for us to use, partly because we also have a student information system that's a PeopleSoft Oracle supported system. And so many of you may have your own database that you're managing or your own system that you're operating in tandem with managing physical records, but the two didn't communicate for us. And so that was a challenge that we didn't realize initially, but we soon discovered, and in partnering with Tab, we realized it was something we really wanted to focus on. So we went through a series of steps in terms of trying to map this process out and identify kind of a scope of work. And the first thing was we had no clue in terms of how many physical documents we had on our campus. We had our student database system, but as many of you may have experienced, you've gone through system upgrades, system changes, you have to go through data cleanup, and so we've lost data, unfortunately, over that process. And this process here of doing a survey really helped us identify how much physical data we were really dealing with. And so we literally went through a survey of all of our physical records to identify what we had on file and cross-check that against what was in our student information system. This was really important to help us get a handle on, one, pricing and budgeting, but also how we needed to scope out the project in terms of the physical space aspect. The next step was scrubbing the data. So we found that, and this was a really important and really useful thing for us in going through the process, is that we had duplicate files. They weren't all indexed consistently. We found that information that were in our physical files weren't in our data system, or we had information in our data system that wasn't located in the form of a physical file. And so this was really helpful for us to get a better handle on the data, both electronically and physically, that we were responsible for maintaining. Step 3 was organizing that content. Once we reconciled and identified discrepancies, we had a better sense of how many files we were dealing with in terms of physical space capacity, as well as what we needed to do in terms of indexing that information into some sort of database. And so a few steps there. That first slide you saw with the picture was actually a file room combined with staff that worked and serviced students out of that area. So it was a perception issue that we had to manage. Students coming back to that area asking for their transcript or asking for documents out of the file, and in a backdrop they see boxes upon boxes upon boxes. And so we had to think through logistically what we needed to do to make that better also. So it was also an opportunity for us to improve perception, improve morale, and improve efficiency in our workspace. And so we relocated staff temporarily as we went through this process to improve our filing space as well as add the technology solution that we needed. We also moved from a top tab filing system that you usually find in your vertical file cabinets or your lateral file cabinets to a side tab system because we did this in kind of two tandems. And so the first was we purchased a mobile filing unit, which most of you may have saw or you may use currently, that helped us really maximize our space. And so partnering with TAB, we were able to come up with a standard indexing convention that really helped us identify and locate records quite easily and provide quick turnaround and better service to our students. Before, and when I inherited the records office, what we saw were files that had either a name and a social, or a name and a date of birth, or a name and a student ID. It was just no consistency in terms of how we index the files. And so working with TAB and through the TAB database, we were able to come up with kind of a set of 5 data values that really helped us index our files in a way that helped us get a true sense of how many files we were dealing with, but also gave our staff easier access to those files. The other piece that was, I think, really good was that all of the files are recycled material. And so some of you may recall a few years back, Governor Quinn had this big green initiative. And so this is something that we were able to, to showcase to the state of Illinois that kind of got us some kudos in terms of how we were using the products that were more environmentally friendly. So here's some post-physical conversion pictures here. So you saw this is the same file room, just a lot cleaner, with the mobile units there that we were able to use to maximize space. So this is just one image to kind of represent that. This is a vault. We actually had 2 file rooms. So we had the outside space that you see, and this is a vault that's inside. And the vault was kind of what we consider to be our prized possession records. And I'm sure you may have some of those in your workplace. For us, these were grade records dating all the way back to 1911, the inception of city colleges, that we had to maintain in their original state. But we also had documents like student transcripts and original records that came to us from Chicago public high schools and things like that we also had to maintain because we kind of inherited some of that information. But here you can see the side tab files with a color-coded system that really helped add some consistency to our office and how we managed and how we did business. As part of a higher education organization, and I'm sure in your respective industries you probably have the same thing, there's a number of regulatory components, a number of accrediting components that you have to adhere to. And so for us, being able to showcase this and demonstrate that we were moving in a direction to show that we really care for our student records really put us in a good position to respond to auditing requests internally and externally. We had site visits from accrediting bodies. This was an area that we were able to showcase and demonstrate that we were really taking good care of our records. Step 4 was implementing a TAB Fusion software. So you saw kind of the physical file system. And I also mentioned we had a database, which is PeopleSoft, which is supported by Oracle. And so the two never communicated, obviously. So if a student came to our office and they asked for something out of the student file, it was almost like a shot in the dark. We didn't know if we had a physical file or not. So someone would literally have to go to the file system and check that physical file for Eddie Phillips' file to see if it even existed. And so it was always kind of this arbitrary thing that we just never really had a good handle on. Working with TAB and working with the solution gave us a real idea of how many physical documents we had on file, but also who we had on file. And so that added a lot more efficiency and a lot more certainty to our business processes as we interacted with our customers on a day-to-day basis. Because through that database, we were able to also index and inventory every physical file we had. And that was something our student information system just couldn't accomplish. And so it bridged the gap between kind of our paper environment, our student database, with an electronic kind of bridge that allowed us to really get a handle on what we physically had in our records office. And I mentioned earlier that it helped us meet a lot of our accreditation standards and also a comprehensive approach to searching records more quickly and more efficiently. Part of our industry is a very customer service, face-to-face oriented kind of a business, and so the longer it takes us to find a file, the more anxious students get, obviously, and so this solution allowed us to really work in a more productive manner, but also provide some better service to our students. Step 5 was creating an electric file structure in the record management system. And so part of our collaboration with TAB was really getting an understanding of what type of documents, what type of records were we managing? You know, we had a variety of things from transcripts to applications to letters of recommendation to you name it. But trying to get a handle on the different type of documents that were contained in the student's file that will help inform how we should build out the system and how we should have that structured in a way that worked for us and meet our business processes. And that was something that was really helpful for us, is that the software is a really flexible software in terms of how you do business, how you manage your paper, and how you use that to inform how you do your day-to-day. The other part that was really important for us is the training component. We really had no real business process in terms of how we manage records. There was really no retention schedule in place, and there was no business process in terms of how we took documents in, how they made it to a file, and how we handled them moving day forward. And so TAB worked with us not also on providing a solution, but also from a professional service aspect, in terms of really giving us some consultation around best practices in the industry and how we could leverage those to make our process a lot easier. And so they came on site, can't tell you how many times, to work with us continuously as we kind of moved along this process, because this was really a paradigm shift for our institution. And so we had staff in our office that were there 20, 30 years, and they were used to just the physical files in a vertical file drawer. And this was kind of a culture shock to them, using some added technology to make the process a lot easier. But TAB was extremely patient with us and helping us bridge that gap and provide some training on site, as well as some training material to our team. So it was really important for us prior to actual implementation to get our staff brought up to speed, so that when we went live, the staff were really comfortable and able to use the system, use the application, but also provide support to our students. And step 6 was developing an effective document management environment that supported our workflow. So we all have business processes in all of our respective workplaces. And so what we didn't want to do was purchase a system and try to fit our old bad processes into a new software, a new solution. And so this gave us an opportunity to really redefine workflows in a way that worked better for us and worked better for our students. And so this was probably the most important step to us, obviously, because it was a very manual, very tedious, time-consuming process to locate a record, retrieve a record, or to even originate a record and create a student file. And so developing workflows that were able to be supported through the solution were extremely helpful to us, and added some efficiency to the office that I can't even quantify, to be honest. It's just been an amazing process in terms of adding those solutions to our office. And I think that's my last slide. But what I'd say in closing is I'm now at Kennedy King College, and we're actually looking at moving forward with the similar project at this campus, because of the value that it's added to our organization, and also the value that it's added to providing good service to our students. Again, at the opening, I mentioned that I don't profess to be a records management expert, and I think that's the beauty of the hybrid solution and the beauty of the professional services that TAB has brought to our organization, is that we've been able to work with them and their expertise, and they've been with us, you know, from start to finish, to really help implement and bring a solution to our organization that's really added a lot of value moving forward for us. So I really appreciate everything that TAB has done for us.